Hey guys, we're back for another video. Me and Jason will be talking about 3 psychedelic companies we should be looking at and 2 that you should definitely put on your watch list and scratch it out.
Yeah. No, we want to go over, the kind of psychedelic industry a little bit. Obviously, it's a hot space. A lot of people are entering it. A lot of cannabis people. We got a few questions of, what would you guys buy, and also what would you avoid? So we've got a few names picked out. The kind of first things, go over a few red flags, and then talk about some of the companies we would buy. We think are definite, decent candidates in the space if you're looking to get into it. The first kind of red flag I'll introduce is, really looking at companies that have real doctors and real science behind them.
If you're looking for companies that are run by people that don't know anything about psychedelics in general, it's a red flag.
Yeah, to avoid people who, when I was younger, I was in my backyard and I used some mushrooms and it was life-changing. No, we avoid those people for sure.
Especially guys that are coming from a finance background that see an opportunity like a lot of people do, just like what had happened in cannabis, and just take advantage of that. So there's 2 companies on my list. So Numinous is one of the first companies. Second company is Red Light Holland, ticker TRIP. These 2 companies, in my opinion, they're kind of sketchy.
Well, let's talk. I mean, Numinous, I've interviewed. I don't remember the guy's name.
Payton.
Yes. Yeah. This guy starts it off with I was really struggling, and I found mushrooms and it changed my life and it got me out of this bad place. Look, that is not someone you want as a CEO. And someone who's doing, an interview every day for a month straight and just trying to leverage other audiences and, pay for interviews, pay for articles, that is not something you want to invest in. Especially we're setting up a clinic. Look, you got to be realistic. They had plans to set up one clinic, at the time at least, plans to set up one clinic, and their market cap was 100 mil. That's not a great business model. It's very replicable. That's kind of where I would look at it. There's nothing, to really invest in.
Let's start with what they opened up at. They IPO'd. They opened up at $1, traded at $1.10 for the first couple of days. What are they trading at now? In the mid-20s, getting down to almost, I think, at 19 cents at one point. If you look at their papers and the financing that they recently did financing at like 20 cents while they're trading before at $1. So there's a lot of red flags.
No, for sure. Well, do you want to introduce the second company?
Yeah, so the second company is Trip. Another company that the CEO, in my opinion, has a background that doesn't really go hand in hand of being a CEO. He's a podcaster. He came from the podcast world. He still does podcasts, and now he's jumping into becoming a CEO in the psychedelic space. But also, recreational right now for psychedelics is not the biggest thing, in my opinion. It's the medical use where the real doctors are taking a big leap attacking the pharmaceutical space.
I think it's not realistic to think that mushrooms are going to be legal, especially in North America from a recreational standpoint, for at least 10 years. And
still
that's
battling cannabis.
And exactly. And don't get me wrong, cannabis will set a good path. But there's no way, cannabis, of course, there's a lot more recreational users. Psychedelics will be a medical focus, and that's why, places like Trip too, selling mushrooms in some other country. But also one thing to avoid is there's some of these companies that are, go on vacations and go on trips. Look, that's not something you want to invest in. It's basically a travel agency for people who want to do mushrooms.
It's not a public company.
No, definitely agree. So those are 2 companies. Definitely avoid. If you already have shares, honestly, there's some better picks. The best investment advice I will give is you only make money when you sell.
Yeah. But for us, we got 3 good companies you should be investing in and taking advantage of this market because, hey, I'm invested in a couple of them and I would recommend that you take a look for sure.
If you're investing in the space, you're banking on the space to grow. It's early for sure. And like we said at the beginning, we definitely are looking at companies that are about the medical uses of psychedelics, that typically have doctors on board, in theory, great doctors, past, pharma business people, executives, and I'll let you introduce the first company.
Yeah, so the first company we're going to talk about is the first company that IPO on the NASDAQ, and it wasn't too long ago, maybe a month and a bit ago. Compass Pathways, a really good company in my opinion, because there's a lot of research behind the company, and honestly, since they IPO, they haven't been pushing out press releases because they're working on bigger things. They're not trying to promote the company right away, so they're working on big developments in the space, and I'm really excited what they can bring.
Well, they're actually touching, the material itself, and they've got some executives from Pfizer on that board. So definitely positioned well. You don't see any of these big pharma executives on any other boards, really, especially some of the worst companies we talked about for a reason. And there's a lot better companies to pick. So yeah, Compass, definitely the first choice.
The one thing I also want to mention, there is a slight interest in Compass right now. I saw there was a research report that came out, I think mid last week. It's called from Citrant Research. They have $100 price target for the company right now, and it's trading around like $40-ish. So it is a positive note. Would I take it to the extreme and be like, oh, it's going to $100? No, but make sure you go take a chance, read it, see for yourself, and there's some really good information in that report as well.
Yeah.
So the second company we wanted to talk about is Field Trip, which just IPO'd this week, which is another company backed with really good doctors and just research analysis and all that. So in my opinion, it is a good company to look at. They're focusing on ketamine on use, which is a good thing. Not, hey, let's go on a field trip to Jamaica and use these drugs. No, they're actually working on this stuff here. So if you have any points on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you covered it. Really, they're actually touching it. They're doing research. When I look at this industry, I look at, you're trying to put horses in the race and you're betting on the industry going up. I think those are two great horses so far. We're going to talk about the third one to put in the race, and really you're just spreading a little bit. You're putting a little bit in a couple places, and you're betting on the industry to go to the next level. And those guys are the front runners.
Yeah, and the third company is one of my favorite wines to drink is Kevin OLeary's wine, and he is one of the biggest investors in MindMed, which is the company we're going to be talking about now. So
look, I mean, mixed feelings, right? So obviously, we're going to chat. They announced that they're going to be looking to uplist to the NASDAQ. I mean, that's the big talking point. A lot of people say, oh, well, why are you announcing that you're going to be looking at doing it, and instead just announce that you're doing it? We understand there's two sides to it. They do have some pretty serious investors that I think would have given them the advice, look, if you're not actually looking to do this, definitely don't press release it. So to me, I think it's just a matter of time. I think Compass really kind of opened the door for a few other companies, and I think MindMed will be that.
And MindMed's like a quarter of Compass's market cap right now, so it does have a lot of potential to grow, especially if it does hit the NASDAQ. For example, like all those Robinhood traders are going to look at market cap and see the potential of MindMed catching up with Compass Pathways and seeing the return that they can get. But like I said, always dive into the companies, look at their financials, look at their doctors behind the scenes, and yeah, look at the paper that's getting printed for them as well, and make your decisions from there, because you can't be just tossing money on everything here.
Yeah.
Perfect. But yeah, those are the three stocks we wanted to mention, and the two stocks we didn't want you to look at. And if you guys have any more questions for us, feel free to shoot us anything about psychedelics, because me and Jason are definitely diving into the space a lot more. And like I said, leave a message on the comments below and we'll look at them.
Yeah, if there's companies you guys are looking at, you want a little piece of advice, either we'll respond to in the comments or we'll do a little segment on it. If there's enough people, just make sure to drop your messages.